All right.
Whatever this is.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're 2 minutes after the half hour, so let's just dive right in. So welcome to our Economic Development Committee meeting today. For those that don't know me, and maybe some that are online, my name is JD Dalpass, and I'm glad to be here with you guys. We have a bunch of great committee members that have joined us here physically in the room. Do we have anyone on Zoom right now, John?
Councilman Barker is on as a member of the committee.
Great. Okay, good to know. So to begin, we're going to have an invocation and a pledge of allegiance by Brandon Kessler. I've asked him to do that, and it will be either an invocation or a thought for that matter. So go ahead.
Our dear and gracious Heavenly Father, we're so very grateful for the opportunity to gather tonight as we talk about what's best for North Ogden. Please help us with inspiration. Please help us as we sincerely try to make this a better community for all those who live in it. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brad, appreciate that. So as far as the consent agenda goes, we'll start by discussing our last meeting minutes. As many people know, it's been a few months since we've had this committee meeting, so I'm really happy that we can get back up and running. And I had a fun old time listening to 2 hours worth of our old meetings just to make sure I have an idea of where we were at. So do we have an action to approve our previous meeting minutes from March 16th, 2021?
Motion to approve the previous minutes.
Right, seconded.
Okay, great. So we have a motion to approve the minutes from March 16th by Dave Gordon and a second by Janice Jones. All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Or aye? Yes. Okay, so everyone voted affirmative on that, so we should be good to go. At this point, we will go ahead and get into our active agenda, and we're going to ask for any public comments. So whether we have people in attendance physically or virtually through Zoom.
Okay, so I don't see any hands raised yet. We do have 2 members of the public.
Okay, we'll give them a few seconds to make sure if they want to comment, they have the opportunity.
There's comment number 6 too. We want to wait till the 6th.
Good point. Yeah, so that's a good point. So we can probably move along because if anyone missed the opportunity to comment at this stage, they will have an opportunity to comment after agenda item 3, 4, and 5. So we will go ahead and close public comments as there are none. And we would like to move into agenda item number 3, which is a discussion on an RDA amount to be requested through the RDA board to be used for Spend It in North Ogden and other initiatives. So I've been going through meeting notes, I've been listening to the meetings, and this is one of the things that I believe Mayor Berube and I talked about a while ago when I was first put in as chairman of the committee is we need to have an official budget line item that is taken to the RDA board and ask them for, hey, we need $10,000 a year, we need $15,000, $20,000, whatever amount makes sense. I would say that we want to make sure that our amount factors in all of the different things that we've been talking about over the last few months. So a good example would be Janice's suggestion to do the Spend It at North Ogden stickers. So she had the idea a while ago, it's been a while ago now, but she wanted to get stickers for all of those that sign up for business licenses. When they come in, they would be given a 4x4 sticker that they could place on their window in their place of business that says essentially Spend It in North Ogden. So think about it as those, and maybe if we need to refresh any of our banners or all of the different things that we've been talking about over the last few months. So I'll start it there, I'll leave it there and see if we have any suggestions, especially since it's been so long. If anyone has any remembrances of things that we want to make sure we hit on this subject, so we can make a good, intelligent decision on how much we need and request that to the board, that would be great.
One comment on that, the RDA money is going to be expiring, so it will need to be allocated. I'm not sure if you wanted to comment on that or the financial guy who's usually here.
So I think what Dave's referring is that it expires every year on June 30th. And so anything we don't spend, we need to budget for the next year. And we could do a budget amendment to add some expenses for the RDA as part of this request.
Okay, I think the total RDA expires in 2024.
That's the other
Oh,
part. That's the other part. So there is an annual budget and then it all expires. It needs to be allocated before 2024.
that's correct. And there is actually a new state law. I don't know of any city that's done it yet, where when an RDA or a redevelopment area expires, that there's an option for the local authority to keep some continuing money specifically for economic development. But I don't know any city that's done it yet. And so we're trying to keep our ear to the wind on that, but we should include that at the upcoming meeting for discussion.
And I don't think it has to be a large sum of money. Just some.
Most likely
get us
not.
there. I mean, I would think, I know that, at one time I had proposed maybe making some, maybe making some videos, of some of the local businesses. $50 per video, give or take. We could probably get away with maybe a couple $1,000 between stickers and.
Yeah, the stickers weren't very expensive.
Right.
I think that when we did videos, it was when we were trying to market North Ogden, when they took the videos to, when they were trying to bring businesses to the area. And so they would still be beneficial to have things like that. You can use them on the website, you could use them on Facebook or social media, but you could also use them when you go to try and court other businesses to come to the area.
Do we have a Facebook page for Spend in North Ogden?
Mhm.
We ought to probably create a Spend in North Ogden Facebook page. Here was my thought on the videos was, our sales tax revenue has just been really, really great.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping maybe under public comment, maybe John, do you have Evan's most recent? Maybe to bring that up to the committee really, really quick, maybe we could do it now versus at the committee. Do you have the most recent? And I wish I'd thought about this earlier, John, when I would have texted you, but the sales tax for the most recent.
I can grab it, yeah. and
Okay.
Pull it up.
But I thought it might be kind of interesting to maybe, and I don't know how we could do this. Our sales tax, as I mentioned a minute ago, is actually doing very, very well. But I wondered if we could hit like ACE, for example, and have them maybe show, a lot of people may not know that we sell this. So you don't have to go to Smith and Edwards, or you don't have to go and maybe some of the restaurants. I don't know how we would do that without looking like we're favoring some of the businesses, but I just thought, what, if people didn't know, for example, that ACE sold this product.
Let me jump in. We've discussed this where we're still having people come to the business that's been established for 7 years saying, we never knew you were here.
Or 20 years.
Yeah.
Really?
I still have that too. We had talked about on having the website, on the city's website, have a place where it lists all the businesses that are brick and mortar businesses, and then have it searchable by the types of things that they sell.
Products and services.
And products and services. And we talked about doing that. It was, I can't remember who, somebody was going to work with Terry's wife, Lynn, and gonna work with Lynn on getting that all set up. I don't know if anything happened, but we've talked about this we wanted that on the website so that it was searchable, so that if you're looking for something, you ought to be able to say, hey, is this available in North Ogden? And we have to be able to answer that. because so much is available that people don't realize.
Without going to Yelp,
Yeah.
without going to all these other
Yeah,
larger broad places that advertise out of our city.
yeah, we could have them go to the website and have it all right there.
And can I just jump in real quick? So also I remember there was talks in a previous meeting about an actual physical copy of a brick and mortars in the city. I can't remember exactly who
Like a
brought up the idea.
brochure.
Yes. So I don't know how much sense it makes to try to get some of those produced as well. Because there will be maybe a small percentage of the population that still will never go to a computer and check out what's out there, or maybe just has a computer but doesn't know how to get where they need to be. It just happens. So having that as well could be helpful, as long as it's not crazy expensive. I think that's a good idea.
Let me bring up a couple other things. So I was working email with Mr. Bechtel, and that was a sidewalk sell day, like they used to do in Bountiful, where all the businesses put a table out on their sidewalk, and people would just go store to store to see what they could get. And it was a lot of fun as a kid to ride your bike all along the sidewalks and see what was the special. And another thing is in Layton, they have what was called the Taste of Layton, where all the restaurants would go to a park and they would set up a small booth where they could have a $5 to $7 entree. And it's very small, but to just taste what the different restaurants have. And they said that was very successful for the restaurants in Layton to get people aware of who, what restaurants here first, and then the flavor of what they're serving.
Mhm.
So those were two ideas that I've thrown out. We actually created a flyer months and months ago as an example. I dropped a kit off here at the city with a whole bunch of things. Do you know whatever happened to that?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
Did you give it to me?
no,
Okay.
it was at the front desk,
Okay,
with the new gal,
Colleen.
yeah.
Okay.
I think that's her name. And it was,
Yeah.
Janice and I worked on, we had a half a dozen pages of ideas of both the sign and some of these other things that we were trying to do.
What's that?
Both of those ideas are doable, which is, we're kind of late in the summer now to be
So-
able to advertise and get it this year.
In one of the previous minutes, I saw that, I don't know if it was morphed from that idea, but we talked about a Spend It in North Ogden day. So not necessarily sidewalk, but hey, August 29th is Spend It in North Ogden Day. We try to get it on social media, we try to get the word out, and everybody in the city makes a special effort to go out to a local business. It's kind of like the American Express Spend It at Local Businesses Day, but for North Ogden.
And part of that was to have like a passport where you go to this business and you get a stamp or you get a treat or you get something to show that you've gone to the dozen or 24 different businesses that are wanting to participate in it.
Okay.
And then
So-
you can have raffle or something.
I'm gonna go back to the budget question, right? And so where I work, we've just come out of the budget cycle. And I've got like 20 different managers all saying, like, how do we spend this money? Like, where does this money go? And it always starts with like what we're trying to accomplish, right? And I think that's what everybody's saying. And so maybe this is because I'm new, but if there were like 3 things that this committee was working on and we all knew exactly what they were, then this question would be very, very easy on like, okay, this is how much money we need. This is what we're going to spend on it. And it sounds like there's tons of ideas out there. So the question is, do we have those 3 things? Do we need to come up with a certain amount of things? And then that way all of our efforts are directed in one, like we can answer budget questions. We can answer what each person is going to work on. Is that out there and I just don't know it, or?
I know that Kirk Chug, when he was on the committee a few months ago, towards the end, I believe, he put together kind of like a vision type statement document. And I would have to take a look, to be honest, to see what that looked like and to understand if we can adopt that. We just say, oh, okay, he did a great job on this. We will adopt this as our vision. So I could definitely take a look for that, try to find that wherever he submitted it. and see if it's something that we want to go by. If it's not exactly what we want to go by, maybe we can get some really good ideas to where he started and get it where we want it to be.
And I don't know government rules very well, but is it an appropriate time with like a new chairman, right? Like to say, okay, with the new chairman, this is the direction that we're headed. And I like what you're saying, like take what they've already built on, but then modify it to current data, like currently where we want to go and what all of our ideas are.
Yeah, I don't want to reinvent the wheel too much.
Right.
If he did some good work, I know Kirk's a really smart guy and probably gonna put some good stuff together. So let's try to find that, and maybe John can help us try to find that.
Okay.
Because I know it was floating out somewhere. I don't know if it was officially attached to a previous agenda, but if you could try to find that, that would be most helpful for us.
It was approved as well. I remember us approving it.
And
It
then,
was like a mission statement and a vision, and then there were like, what, 4 or 5 things.
Yeah, it was either the first time I had been to a committee meeting as a member, or it might have been right before I was put in, but it was recent, within the 6 to 12 months ago.
And I know that Terry, maybe we don't have a physical copy of it. Maybe Terry still has the copy.
but
to
that's a
answer your-
roadmap, right? Like, and then, because I still think we need to answer the question, and this is my recommendation, is that because it sounds like there's the money that we need now, and then a little bit of thought behind it, and then requesting kind of like that bigger number. So us, getting that smaller, like this is our plug number, this is what we can spend on stickers and stuff, then spending a little bit of time knowing the direction that we're going in, and then coming back and saying, okay, well, we need this much for the next round because this is going to help us achieve our goals.
Brandon?
Yes.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, so,
Sweet.
yeah.
I'm going to take a picture
Just
so that I have.
just recently approved, created and approved.
So obviously those that are online can see this, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it's shared.
Okay, so everyone can see kind of where we were at just 6-ish months ago. And so we can, I don't know about right now or not, but we can definitely talk about this maybe in our next meeting to say, hey, we've had some time to digest this that's on paper. Let's all think about this. Let's go away and think about it and then come back. So we'll revisit it to say, hey, do we feel really good about what's put down on paper? And if there are any small things that we would like to tweak or revise, what are those suggestions? And then we might have a small revision.
So I just want to comment a little bit on the members of the committee.
Yeah.
There is some value in having longevity on a committee that has historical memory.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that out. Not sure who or what, but how, but anyway, there
Well,
is
actually,
some
to that
value.
point,
Institutional now.
yeah, to that point, how long has somebody served? How long have you guys been serving?
Mayor Harris.
Okay,
Yeah, I say.
Mayor Harris' time.
Five mayors or so. Did we
Okay.
come on about the same
Okay.
time?
So, yeah, I think that there is something to be said for that. There's a lot of tribal knowledge that it's good to have. Okay,
Maybe we could just get a copy of that for everybody.
yeah,
But Brandon, back to your point, and I can't remember, Janice probably has this so memorized. When you drive by and you see those banners, spend North Ogden
Okay.
program is to keep it
to
local.
spend local, save time,
And what was
improve the
it?
economy or something like that. No, we left the taxes off.
Okay.
Improve the economy or something
save
like that.
time, enjoy life, and then there's one in
Yeah,
the
so-
background that I can't.
So they'd asked to have these banners made larger and with like a thought on each one as you progressed. So there's a sample of those there in a light and a dark.
Yep.
They sent those over. So you've got those. I didn't know if that fit with the budget, if that's what we're talking about also. Is the sign part of the budget for the welcome sign, or is that just a city thing? I wasn't sure what fit with the.
I mean, I personally think that it should probably be part of the budget. I think to make sure that we have everything that we're doing from this committee be visible to the city council and the RDA board that's going to make the decisions. To me, it makes sense to have these as part of it. So we know that along Washington, we already have this great swath of signs that are already up. We have been given some feedback that they're difficult to read, and that's okay. I mean, it's 50 miles per hour going down that road almost. So I think one thing that we can think about with that is maybe we put a certain amount of budget that goes each year to refreshing these, because maybe one gets damaged by a windstorm, or gets taken out somehow, or gets faded or whatever. So since we have a good swath of them right now, maybe we just decide on, we need 10 of these per year. And I remember in one of the meetings, you said that they're approximately $182 each. And so if we said 10 times that, that's about $2,000 per year. I just wanted to mention, we did have a good citizen comment from a time or two ago that said, how do we measure? How do we measure what impact these signs have? And so I got to studying a little to try to understand what might be the impact of a sign. And just through my magical Google abilities, I was able to find some things that show, I'll just give you an example. This is from it's called the economic value of on-premise signage. And this is a study that one of the colleges on the West Coast made. I can't remember exactly who it was, but it says a new building sign, a new pole, or a freestanding multi-tenant sign tends to add 5% to 15% to a site's sales revenues. So even though the signs that we're putting up aren't a particular business per se, but it's kind of that subliminal message that's saying, hey, residents, please think about spending your money here so we can keep those tax dollars. I would say, just by some of the research that's out there, there could be some drag that comes along with what's purchased on those signs. And Blake, I would ask for your input, because in your professional life, you're dealing with signs, you're dealing with marketing and all that all day, every day. Do you know anything about, if you put a sign out in front of a business, it gets X% of extra business, or just some high level thoughts on that?
Don't. But I like what you presented there. It's always good to have a baseline. The only thing I can look at will be, just off the top of my head, statistics. I'm thinking in my statistics time frame, right? It would be so hard to tie something to just a flag that's on Washington. But again, we could always compare, but there's so many variables. But just seeing that our tax sales revenues continue to increase could very well contribute to that.
The more specific you can be, sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
let's say the more specific you can be, the better you'll be able to measure, and you'll actually have some type of trend towards it.
How many, ask people, have you noticed the signs? Does it motivate you to want to purchase? Because of the sign, have you shopped more locally?
Especially need to make the signs going out of town. Trader, turn around.
It's not too late.
Yeah.
It's not too late, yeah.
But I
can tell
really
you
think,
two stories about signs. This will tell you how long ago it was, but there's two gas stations on the corner of 12th and Wall, right? On the east side, north and south. So I was driving down there one day, and up on the sign, it had, $1.38 a gallon on the gas station that's on the northeast corner. On the other sign, it was 2 cents more, and people were just lined up at the gas station. I thought, well, I'm not going there for two. So I pulled into the other gas station, and guess what the price on the pump was? The same as the sign on the other gas station. So I think it tells you that people do look at signs if they're right and they have the information they're looking for. The other story was, this was a number of years ago, Lee Badger was alive. We introduced a new product. And he called me up like 2 days later. He says, hey, this thing's just not selling. I said, do me a favor, go get a 5x7 sign and put new item, great price. He calls me back a week later, he can't stay in stock. So I think there's, if it's the right kind of sign and it has the right information, people do pay attention to it. But it has to have that as its basis.
Okay. But I will say that I was agreeable to the other sign, but I think it was too much to try to read it.
Yeah, you could read it.
So
as
I
stop
love that idea of, just one at a time. I think that's
Yeah,
great.
because,
Keep it simple.
and from the pictures, and I sent this to John, and maybe he'll be able to show it online. I emailed you, John, about 2 hours ago.
Mhm.
And if you want to bring up some of those sign pictures, that might be helpful for the discussion.
This is the old one.
Oh, actually,
Or do you want the presentation?
it's, yeah, the presentation that has this.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, so that second one on the PDF, that's the one that shows, and that, to Blake's point, this is much more visible. You're going 50 miles an hour down Washington Boulevard, and you can actually pick that out really easily. And so it's that perfect message that says, man, I just bought something from outside of North Ogden. I should have went to North Ogden, so I'm gonna do it next time. Or I'm coming home from work and I gotta grab something. Instead of going on Amazon, which is super easy online, I'm gonna stop by one of the local places because these are people's livings and I wanna support them. So, yeah, we can, I think what we need to do is just decide how many of these signs we need for the year. Since we have a full batch of signs and we've already invested the money in them, I don't want to go too overboard about going, with a ton of these new ones. So maybe we do a refresh cycle that's every 6 to 12 months where we add 3 or 4 more signs at a time. So we sprinkle them in, but we're not spending thousands of dollars all at once, something like that.
Well, you still got I don't know if we're gonna put up light poles in front of Ultimate Express Car Wash. That whole block there doesn't have any light poles.
Oh, good point. And I think it is in the plan.
Possibly got some new areas.
It's most likely in the plan to have those along there, because if you look on the other side of the street, they go down to 1,700. So that might be a good idea, that we just say, hey, we want a plan for sure for those. So we need to count approximately how many poles we think are going to be there. That can be part of the budget request.
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
then You've got the military ones that are pretty much stagnant. They just call and say, hey, we had a wind damage one or lost or something.
Mhm.
We replace that, or they rebuy it. But there are those few that are in there that are, so we just have to kind of move them around so that these could be in line. But there is a few spaces still
okay.
because of that, once the lights get put up.
This might be overboard, John, but I'll just ask, do you know if we have signs up on there, if there was damage or one was lost, is there any sort of insurance that we could get a new one, or probably not?
Our deductible's $1,000 and stuff
Okay.
like that.
All right,
So,
just double checking that we didn't have sign insurance somewhere.
yeah,
You could raise the price.
Yeah.
but if we had a major windstorm and all of them got shredded, then that would be enough of a cumulative damage that we could.
Makes sense, okay,
Yeah.
okay, good to know. So if it's okay, because I don't think we're ready to make a decision. There's clearly way too much to say, this is how much we need for the year. So let's add up how many stickers we think are going to be needed. And I don't know if John or anyone ever got with you, Janice, to say, this is approximately how many business license we issue per year or anything like that. That would be a good indicator, and then we can say this is the total price.
Yeah.
And then,
I did give them a price of how much they were
Per.
per sticker.
yeah, okay. And I did see that as well. So let's think about what that total number is. Does anyone have a guesstimation on how many of these Spend It in North Ogden signs we want to buy with this budget? Because like I said, we've already spent quite a bit for that first swath. And I think we need to be a little bit mindful of that as we go through this.
Are there any stores that are not installed? Did we buy more than what we have poles, or just enough for the poles?
They just told me to do, I can't remember how many I did. It was
Okay.
like 10 of them or something.
Okay,
And we were just gonna kind of intersperse them
right, with the
with
military.
military ones. Yeah, I think that's probably about how many we got.
Do we know how many poles are gonna be going up on the west side of the Washington?
Just a couple, 2 or 3.
Okay, so
For that, yeah.
not 10 or 20.
Right.
And those would be the ones that say turn back because you're almost out of the city there. Okay, so what I would just ask is if we can all digest this information a little bit for next time, come up with so on the stickers, we can easily come up with a price. On the banners, we can come up with a pretty good price. And then on the videos, which I still agree is a good idea, My biggest question is, how do we make it equitable to the businesses out there? Do we put all the businesses in a hat and draw one out and say, hey, they've been selected, so we're going out there and we're gonna ask them if they want a video? How do we just select that?
There's a tangent to this conversation, if I remember right. We brought up that the Department of Transportation signs have, you're entering this city, here's a few restaurants, or here's a few hotels, or here's a few things. What if the city was to have a official sign that would have business names on it, arrows with, X miles, and that can rotate? So maybe you're on a sign here, or you're on a banner here, or you're on, the big electronic sign that the city's gonna put in someplace, right? I don't know. But different things like that, so that it is an equitable rotation. Anyway, those were some of the other ideas that
Okay.
were discussed months ago.
Okay, so, just as a guesstimate, do we think we have a good guess of an amount that we would want to ask, or do you just want to come back next time with a number? Okay, so let's come back next time. If I can easily add up, I can talk to John about how many business licenses are done per year. So every business needs to come in yearly for that, or is there any that are like bi-yearly or what?
It's yearly.
Okay, so then we easily have a number of how many of those we need. And so we can times that out, we can figure out how many banners. So we will come next time with a good estimate of what we want. Blake, any thoughts on how many videos you would like to try to recommend?
I don't know, I had the same kind of conundrum when you were talking about, which businesses do you highlight and how do you make it equitable, and, the thought of maybe going door to door and saying, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing, would you have some interest? If not, we're gonna, that would probably be the only way.
Well, there was buy-in on the benches and the planters' garbage cans, where the cities put so much into it, and then the other businesses, yeah, I want to be part of that program, I'm willing to kick in X, part of that.
So it wasn't just a gift.
Yeah,
Right.
there was some skin in the game for the businesses too.
So if we maybe charge them like a portion of the video cost.
Yeah, because they'll get a video.
You
but they
decide
can
whether you
use-
want it or not.
Yeah.
That's an excellent idea, Dave. That's an excellent idea. I had thought about that, but I didn't know whether we could mix money.
John, can we make some money that way?
We can, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That worked for the benches and the planters and that.
Some places, but
Okay, so it basically
Yes.
gets their skin in the game, and
And they
it's a
did it
fair
every
way
day.
because we offer it to everyone. We're not gonna miss someone that doesn't get the same offer.
We're gonna offer it to all of the brick and mortar businesses.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
and that is the.
Good clarification, because there's a lot of home businesses that get intense.
Well, the way they had talked before, you don't put the home businesses in the same one because some of them, they can't really have retail at their home,
they don't
And,
want
and,
people.
and they don't pay for the business license as well. So the home businesses, a home salon or something similar, the state, they are allowed to just come get a business license, sign up for it, here you go. Whereas the brick and mortars, they have to pay a certain amount per year, and that's a state law thing that happened a few years ago.
So, John, maybe this is for you. When the business licenses get sent out, can other things be inserted into the same envelope is that like a one-off here? Or is that a big mass printing?
no, it's usually, it's 12 times a year. So at the
Okay.
beginning of the month, so it'd be easy to insert stuff.
So
Because
what,
we're not near our capacity on envelopes.
okay, what if we were to put the sticker in the renewal?
Beautiful.
And, you have the Chamber of Commerce, I've been a member X years and things like that. That would,
Okay, okay. All right, let's, if everyone's okay at this point, let's move on to the next item. Okay. So I want to have a discussion around welcome to North Ogden, the sign. And what I want to say is this conversation has been going on forever. And Janice, Dave, they're laughing because it's true. And one thing that struck me from last time is we wanted to put together a subcommittee on the sign. And it was a little bit crickets chirping And it was on a Zoom.
No, it was us.
Oh, no.
Well, but yeah, but you guys, I think, said you would do it, but we didn't have anyone else from that had said, oh, I'd love to be a part of that. So I think Janice, correct me if I'm wrong, and I think you sent me an email earlier today. You have a draft of one of the latest and greatest you want to show.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So that one's just got, I didn't get pricing on it because I didn't know, I don't make signs like this. I just know how to use a graphics program.
Yep.
So I just figured we could do something like Harrowstone or something like that for the brick or rock on the sides, and then it's cement, so it kind of ties in with the benches and the planters we've got. And then some color on that. So I thought that the brick, kind of softened it a little bit, so it wasn't just a big cement sign.
Mhm.
Because originally, the one up above that, we talked about that one. We had a sign that was kind of like that also.
Just had it up and now I've closed it,
Oh, okay.
but I'll grab it.
That was one that we talked about, so I was just trying to kind of make it a little newer, but still using the city. That was what
That's
we
the
talked
original, right?
about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Janice, do we, the company that made those for us, is
They're
no
gone.
longer business, so
Yeah.
do we have
So
to-
we have to find
Mold.
somebody else. No,
We do have the molds
Oh,
for
we
the
did get the
benches and
molds?
stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, we got
okay.
them back.
for the
Yes.
benches?
good.
And the
Planters.
planters, yeah.
Okay, good.
But if, like for this, for example, where it's just.
That would be, you'd probably
Wall.
just want two of them, one at
Fingers.
this side and one at that end.
You'd need a mold,
Sorry.
Would have to be the
mold, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that would be bigger than the bench. The bench backs all about.
And
right?
I just want to remind everyone, the previous conversation is Cooperstown Apartments that are going on at 1500 Washington. There is going to be an agreement that they pay a portion of the cost of this sign. And so that's already been approved, that's already in the works. So we can be mindful of that, but if it were my choice, I would just say, this looks great, let's go for it. But I don't know how much we want to sit and try to digest it. Since we've been talking about it for so long, I mean, I look at that and I say I like it. I mean, because it keeps the North Ogden theme that we already have going with the benches and the garbages. I know that there are some residents that have said, we don't like the design, or we don't like this or that. Some people don't like the look, but as far as it keeps a consistent theme, and I think that's what I like about it.
This is what we've talked about, so
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
So about the benches and that's another thing that I was approached by some of the city guys asking us to do something else for the benches that wouldn't weigh so much, would be more cost effective.
Mhm.
And so I kind of sketched up some others, but I thought if we stick with the same theme, and then this could kind of go into that idea,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Okay, so, and if I remember correctly, from the email that you sent me with this draft,
Mhm.
it was kind of after we hadn't had any meetings for a long time, and I think you might have sent it to Terry in the middle of the shuffle.
Uh-huh.
And so, I don't know what it would take to get an engineering on this, and if it would be
But we-
super intense or not so intense, but I would be all for this design and just go for it. So if we can come to a consensus, we might just say, hey, let's get somebody to design this, let's make this official, let's call it good. Are there any suggestions from the group here that says, I like this, I dislike this, I'm in between on this?
The only thing I want to add is lights. We talked about that off and on. We also talked about a water feature off and on, but I think drought wise, let's not go that direction.
Can you put like, those curved up lights at the bottom or something like
Or
that?
even just embedded right below it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the question is, we talked solar, we also talked
Is there power?
real power,
Yeah.
and who would be paying for that? But the idea is to have that at least lit up till, midnight and starting, early in the commute until the sun's up
Yeah,
would be a nice thing.
How many signs are there? Because we have more than one entrance in the hotel.
We talked about two.
In fact, if you look at the one down there on Mountain Road, 1700,
Oh, yeah.
really disgrace.
it's a little scruffy.
Some
Yeah.
people need
That
it.
one kind
Yeah,
Yeah,
is a lot scrubby.
yeah.
well, we hadn't talked about that.
I was just gonna say, we always talk about down on, close to 1,700.
Uh-huh.
So-
And then the one out.
I think it would be great to have a annual refresh where we say, okay, the first one is Washington at this Cooperstown development. The second one is going to be at Mountain Road next year. And then 3 years down the road, we're going to do 3,100 coming in off of the divide, that sign. So, we could have this refresh cycle where we have the budget each year, and part of our budget every single year, except for the creative situations that we ran into with Cooperstown, each year we say, we know it's going to be this much. And then by the time we're 5 to 10 years into it, we have a pretty good refresh, and we don't have any super crazy old signs that are just not sufficient anymore.
Maybe there's 4 of them.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I mean, we have 1 million entries into North Ogden, but maybe we could,
Pleasant View Drive has the entrance coming in too.
yeah. So we could, does anyone want to scout that out? Does anyone want to just volunteer to be the one that scouts out how many entries and, or, I mean, I know we can make an estimation right now, but.
My thought is just more, my thought is more, do we need to have them at every spot? Or just have them at the most prominent locations?
Yeah, because we'd only talked about the 2 of them, but it sounds like if there's already a Rotary Club signs, I think those are the ones we're replacing. Are they the ones, the wooden ones that the Rotary Club had put up years ago?
I believe that's what you're mostly referring to is, a lot of them are the Rotary Club ones. But the one on Mount Ogden, I don't ever specifically remember that it was Rotary Club from the looks of it. The one on 3,100 is probably the most unique, and I think it might have even been an Eagle Scout project that somebody did and said, here you go.
It was my son's actually.
Oh,
Okay.
well, there's the
Just
connection.
kidding.
Yeah.
I just wanted.
Oh. That's awesome. You know what, I 100% believed you, so there you go. Okay, so.
But that would be my curiosity is, and I don't have feelings one way or another, but we'd only always just talked about the 2. Because we were talking, we were looking at this, probably thinking it was gonna be, around $5,000-ish. And Cooperstown was gonna throw in, I think, 3, right, Mayor?
2,500.
2,500?
And we can, with what Janice has given us, we can take this and get it to some sign companies, and they'll give us a bid. So that when the group goes to the council, they can.
It doesn't
We'll have some
necessarily
numbers.
cost anything to get a bid, right? I mean.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think part of the challenge, and I appreciate your, commitment here, JD, the motivation. I think it was that nobody could agree on a sign, and at one time I'm hearing Carrie had an idea of a tractor, and another person had an idea of a statue of Mayor Ruby, and, and
I think we should go with it.
welcoming his hands like this.
Yeah.
North Ogden, spend your money.
Yeah.
So just one of those twirling signs, like a statue, and the sign just twirls.
See, I like it.
So that's always the danger of the committee is you have everybody, you try to get consensus, and sometimes you don't get consensus. So if we're looking for a vote tonight,
That would make it simpler.
this is why.
I would like to put this to a vote. I would like to, so if anyone wants to start a motion for this, let's do it.
Let me
But-
ask a question. What's the round ball top
I
thing?
was
Was
just
that,
trying to
Cementish?
soften it a little bit. Yeah, it's just a cement, like,
so not the pyramid like every mailbox in town has on?
no.
Oh,
Well, I would move then that we at least have the city obtain a bid for the cost of this sign.
I'll second that motion.
Is that what you just need a recommendation, you just need a motion for the bid?
So since you're not officially approving any money, it doesn't have to be an official motion,
Oh,
but
okay,
if the whole group's on the same page, we'll go to some sign companies and get some bids. And I think what we probably do, I imagine it's probably cheaper to go with something that isn't concrete, but looks like concrete. So it'd probably last longer, be easier to clean if it gets sprayed with graffiti, but it'd be, yeah. we'll
What's
just
the
get-
size right now? I mean, what are you thinking?
So
5
we-
feet, 20 feet?
We would stay within the limits of the sign ordinance of just about 10 feet.
or
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
so I
it?
think it's 10 feet and then 4 feet high or something, but we'd meet at whatever our monument sign ordinance is.
Okay,
So, yeah, let's have, John work on getting it out to bid, because then we'll actually have something to move us forward on this, and I'm excited about that, and I think you guys are especially excited because of all the work.
You know, one that I know could probably give us a good price is Ogden sign.
Ogden
They're
sign?
fairly new and they're pretty eager.
Okay.
Cool.
The only thing I would be concerned about would be that, John, do we have any idea when Cooperstown is actually gonna begin construction?
They're working through some stormwater questions, with the property owners to the west of them, but soon, I think.
So I'd almost be a little bit worried about putting it in place until.
I don't think they have to, we've got a development agreement with them that says they'll pay $2,500. That was a condition.
Yeah,
I'm
Signing
not,
the agreement.
I'm not concerned about the financial side. I just wondered about, moving, equipment, trucks in and
potential
out.
damage.
I think it's.
That would only be my concern.
it should be at the northwest corner, like the mayor just said, so it should be out of the path
Out of the path.
of their construction.
Okay.
Um,
No, I'm all about it then.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
Let's make it happen.
Did they talk about power lines, a meter, I mean, for a light, or are we gonna go with solar?
I think solar is probably the way to go.
well, especially with modern LEDs, and this sign could probably hold a pretty good sized battery, that would keep it solar and last through the night.
I would agree.
Just one last thing that came up in a previous meeting that I wanted to mention. I can't remember who it was, but if it's really close to the road, I think maybe it was the roads department that said the salt could eat away the mortar. So we either need to make sure that design doesn't actually have like real mortar in it that's gonna get ruined in a few years.
Mhm.
So just when we put it out to bid, let's make sure we note that.
Okay.
However, they're gonna be the experts that know how to do it, and we'll just have an action when we know what's going on. Okay, so I think that settles that. Now Janice and Dave can sleep nicely tonight, knowing that it's in the works. But it's true, because I do remember we have had several committee meetings where, it's exciting. You want to talk about all your ideas, and it was all over the place, so we're going with it. Okay. And then next on the agenda is update on new businesses coming to North Ogden. I actually don't have any intimate knowledge of things that are coming, but I did want to mention that I called Ryan Forsyth, that is the developer for 2700 in Washington. And he did say that he is pretty close to officially giving some news on some businesses that are going to be proposed for that area. So I asked him if he has the information available by then. I asked if he could come to our next Economic Development Committee to announce that to us as a committee, and of course, the residents would be able to hear that. So if the timing works out, he's gonna come present to us and say, hey, here's who's coming, here's what's gonna be happening, and we can get all excited about it because business is coming to North Ogden. It's just awesome. So that's all I wanted to say. Now, is anyone aware of any new businesses that we need to highlight or anything like that have just come?
I know North Ogden Yogurt Company is still hoping to, it still says coming soon.
That's what I was gonna say, is the yogurt company is still working on opening up.
Okay,
That's Jen Mesterly, right? That's Jen.
okay. But we don't know a timeline. It's just, it's happening.
Location,
It's in.
Kings Plaza.
your plaza, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's North Ogden Plaza.
That's what I meant to say. North Ogden Plaza.
Took years
King's
before I knew
Plaza
that.
for the old.
Yeah.
folks on North Ogden.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
King's
that's gonna be hard to get out of my mind. Sorry.
Which really should be Kurt's Plaza, because Kurt's has been along longer.
I
than-
know.
Oh, that's true.
No.
Longer, yeah. Back to the pinky days.
Yeah, Pinky's.
Way back.
You should just call it Pinky's Plaza.
Yeah.
Rolls up and down.
Yeah, well, it kind of does.
That was before my time, though.
Okay, so if we don't have anything more to say there, I would just say, let's move on to public comments. So,
Well, before we do that.
oh, okay.
I was just gonna have John show us, I noticed that he had, up there. We get, on the city council, we get a regular notice as far as like sales tax in the city, the revenue.
Yep.
And every quarter, we've really done a great job. So the citizens have been really, really supportive.
So, and so everyone's aware, sales taxes, it's typically two components. One is based on what's the point of sale here in the city. And the other component is we get a certain portion for the number of residents we have. That's a statewide number. And they divide it among the number of residents and we get a portion. So you can see though that, and it's a little cryptic. We budgeted this number over here. We actually received this number for July of last year. And so it lags, it's a couple months behind. We'll be getting our next report in the next couple of weeks, but you can see that so far we budgeted this much for the 12 months that the fiscal year, and in 10 months, we collected this much. So we likely will get a substantial portion coming, and a significant portion is the local sales tax, you know.
And I think it's 32% local and 68% state, last breakdown I saw.
Right, yeah.
Oh, really?
And
3268.
And one of the nice things that the state legislature did is they did capture online sales tax, which goes to where the boxes are delivered, which is very helpful. Obviously, it doesn't help local businesses as much, but it helps the city. And I can tell you that, you know, some people that we've talked to, me and my wife don't order from Amazon as much anymore because we're so tired of boxes. And so we go to Smith's and we go to Ace and it's a local company.
No, it's not. Cincinnati.
That's true. That's true. I meant to say Lee's. You know that me and my wife fight about Lee's and Smith's.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you knew that or not, so that was the one.
My wife's doing her share, by the way, if it's per box.
Isn't about 5% of that number your wife?
Probably. She likes online shopping.
So is it city council that takes the money from this and allocates it out?
It is, it's the budget from the
July
council.
budget? Okay.
Yeah, so it's, and we typically, so we budgeted about $3.1 million for last year of money that would be spent from sales tax. The majority of it is going to things like police, parks, things like that. So it's police, obviously something we have to have, but usually we kind of think of this as more of the discretionary money, where I guess maybe that's why I'm putting words in the council's mouth, but property tax goes to police. Sales tax is kind of more discretionary on where it's spent, the way the council has it set up right now.
But basically, the city's kind of,
Go to police.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, that would have to be something that John would have to tell us, but I mean, this is what I've learned about being on the city council.
You're in charge, but he's the law.
No.
Oh,
No. It just seems like every time it appears as though we get a little extra, something happens in the city. And we really don't have that discretionary money.
Right. Just like every homeowner.
Maybe
Like every
5%,
homeowner.
Yeah.
Don't get
Well-
your hopes up.
And the council is constantly reevaluating and reallocating through the year. Usually we'll do 2 or 3 budget amendments, oftentimes because revenues come in higher or they might come in lower.
Okay.
We had budgeted for a very conservative year and it didn't pan out because we just didn't think that, we thought the pandemic would reduce spending in it. It didn't.
In the office.
Spending increased.
I just, before we go to public comments, I had one more thought. This wasn't on the agenda, but Brandon and I had talked about it, so I just wanted to mention it. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what we talked about before the meeting?
Sure. Just the fact that we want to start gathering data, right? So as we start to consider what decisions to make, we have a little bit of data there. So the idea that we have is to create comparison cities, right, that are out there, see how many what the population is for those cities, and then kind of what kind of sales tax they generate, and see where Ogden falls in line against this kind of comparison group. And then see if, kind of what pops out of the numbers, if there's anything that we can glean for that and take and use as we make our decisions.
Yeah, so Brandon was nice enough to kind of take that as an action, and we're all here to help if you have any questions, and I'm sure that John would be incredibly helpful if you have questions too. I imagine a lot of the information is publicly available. I just don't know how easy it is to pick and choose that information online. But I think that would help us in our decisions on, okay, we see that Harrisville does this. They're really successful because they have a Walmart. We see that Far West does this. What can we replicate from other areas that where we might be lacking, where we could try to get the right types of businesses along our commercial corridor? So it's kind of a thought there. Thanks, Brandon.
JD, it might be worth looking at to see kind of what the mix is between property taxes and sales tax, because frankly, we're out of balance. We're relying so much on property tax that if we don't start developing appropriate commercial with what's happening, so to me, it's kind of a balance based upon your residential tax versus your sales tax. Because frankly, we're a destination city, right?
Mhm.
That's why it's very hard to get a Chick-fil-A or something, because we're not pass through. It's a destination. And so, our balance is a little out of whack, but it'd be interesting to see that data, the balance of property tax and sales tax, by city. It'd be interesting.
So Brandon, do you want to tell everyone what you're saying about trying to figure out that balance between businesses and homes in a particular city?
Yeah, so, and I mean, this is multifaceted, right? And it all depends on my tech skills, so take that for what it's worth. But, it'd also be interesting to somehow gather the data of how much land mass is dedicated towards homes versus how much a commercial area is. And so if somehow we can gather that, in a really informal way from Google Maps or something, saying percentage wise, they have this many houses versus, they've dedicated this amount of space to commercial areas. And I think, yeah, with like what the mayor's saying too, like we can absolutely add, because those are numbers that will be readily available on all the reports that we'll pull on property tax versus, but then also dedicated space, if you will, to these things. So as we're moving forward and growing, we know the appropriate mix to add, commercial versus residential.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually, the planning department just completed our land, I'm going to call it the land use study, but it's basically, they went through that and said, this much is institutional, this much is commercial, this much is residential. So if you'll give me your email, I'll have one of them send it to you.
Okay.
So that we can, give you that access to that information.
Okay.
Not quite public comment because I'm on the committee, but we've been growing as a known destination, which triggered this, of our biking, our trails, our outdoor area. And I just want to comment that oftentimes I see the bikers heading toward the mountain, but they're sitting fixing the flat tires. What is the city's take on the goat heads or the sticker weeds that grow along all the roads that head up towards the mountain? My wife does the botany stuff, and those goat head stickers will last 10 years before they will, sprout and try to grow into new ones. So once there's a problem, it lasts for a long time. So I just want to throw that out there. If we're trying to become a destination for bike riders, we're making it hard for them to get up to our trails because the roads cause so many flat tires.
And you look at our trailhead, which is one of the most common used things in our city, up there at the top of 2750 and Mountain Road.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of porta potties and dirt thing. That's one of the things hopefully we can start focusing on is our trailheads and getting those a little bit more pristine instead of, because I think you're right. People come here to use our trailheads and, are they representative of our city? So that's one of the things on our agenda, hopefully coming up for next year. Is to figure out a way to improve our trailheads. And then we've, these trails, how big was that, John, that we wanted to asphalt down by the?
So it was kind of wide. It was 40 feet wide and 100 feet deep. And it was $20,000 to
pavement?
What's a good deal nowadays? That's
And our trails, or our Parks and Trails Committee, you know, is looking for members, and it's not our committee, it's, you know, the citizen-led group. But we also have the Parks Department that does a lot of the maintenance on the trails. And a couple of years ago, they tried those beetles that only eat goat heads. And what we found is they don't come back the next season. So you can dump them, and they're in some environments, they'll create a community that just eats goat heads, and they can survive. And as you get more goat heads, you get more bugs, but it didn't last the winter here. So we're trying a few things because that is an issue. And
Okay.
you know, I know on my property, I take my shovel out and I pull them out, and that's the only way I can do to keep them off my piece.
Maybe we start a goat head team. Remember some years ago, we used to do a Dyer's Road every spring.
And I just.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't have a bike. And part of the reason is I just don't like to change flat tires.
Yeah.
And it's just all over.
And a lot of people only ride the asphalt trails because they're off on the side, and you get them less frequently than the dirt ones.
See, there you go. We need a bike shop in North Ogden
We had one,
We did have one for a minute.
yeah.
for a minute.
they
Yeah, I was just
used to-
reading here,
Ogden.
a post of what kind of businesses you'd like in North Ogden. JD, you've returned several calls on that. But you know, somehow it'd be nice for this committee to have an educational aspect too, because, you know, I'm seeing Target, you know, all these things which, you know, I think it'd be nice to have an education, how businesses go about, how we can do that, because one of the other things I hope we can concentrate on is the development of that ground that JD's talking about, where Forsyths are, you know, are looking. That's a prime piece for development, and figuring out how to attract the right kind of businesses there would be great. Other thing hopefully too is we talked about the RDA money. We think we'll have what, John,
Close to 2 million.
in there? Probably at least, because I think we've got 3 more debt payments that we don't have to make.
Yeah. So
Anyway, we're gonna have some money that we would, I think, appreciate this committee's input on how that ought to be spent to increase economic viability in the city.
And my understanding is as long as it is
Planned.
budgeted and put in place, it doesn't have to be spent for X amount of time.
You just have to have the plan.
So
So is North Ogden Plaza still on the? in
that
One.
seems to be one of the projects that's always been focused on, is that area, revitalizing that plaza, along with other things that might draw people into the city, or other park improvements, or not park, but community center improvements. Because just to be clear, it hasn't been talked about like moving it up the hill and building a park. It's all in the RDA area.
And some of the previous council members felt that money was set aside to renovate the pool. I've had several of the council members tell me that, you know, that money was supposed to be utilized to renovate the pool because it'd be 20-something years old.
All right,
Maybe we gotta just pay off the pool.
It is.
it is.
That pool's paid off.
It's
That's
done.
Well, yeah, but we paid it off with the RDA, and we gotta pay it back, right?
That, the RDA money, that's what was paying the debt, so.
So we don't have the bond anymore on there, we don't have the bond anymore.
Nope.
Paid off.
I missed that conversation because I thought we used the RDA, we'll pay it back.
It was tied into that budget amendment in June. So it actually just got paid off last month.
Excellent.
Okay,
One more question.
Yep.
Is this something that I ought to worry about, that I was asked to do?
oh, yeah,
That's
sorry,
not sure.
we
I was
weren't
just
specifically ignoring it, but,
Well, I don't really have anything. I just have some sketches.
some
Because
rent,
they
yeah.
were just talking about doing something that wasn't cement, that would be more cost effective
Mm-hmm.
and not lighter, so it's not so heavy for them to move. But,
more easily
Benches.
moved and stolen.
well, yeah, it still has to be.
Yeah, so there are benefits to each, right? Because
There is.
no one that I know would steal those cement
Yeah, about
benches.
that.
I think that's the benefit to those.
Yeah,
So,
and that was part of the reasoning why we did them.
okay, so if we do anything, it's I don't know what's better.
I didn't
But
know if I should worry
do-
about it or not.
do we, as a committee, do we want to go down the road of exploring new benches, or do we look at seeing,
Is there a need?
yeah,
People asking for it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, we can ask certain businesses and try to understand if there's any itch for that and people are wanting that.
It was just some of the city guys asked. They
Okay,
came and asked me about it.
I like the idea of having the more garbage cans available.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of benefits besides just having the city and the logos and stuff, but places for people to put trash instead of on the ground.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah, that obviously has a benefit to keep the place looking nice, so that's, okay. I don't think we need to go further on that. I don't think,
I won't worry about it.
yeah,
I just figured I'd better have some sketch in case
Yep.
I was supposed to do something and I wasn't sure.
okay. And one thing I want to say is, I know that there was a transition between the committees and everything, so hopefully there isn't too much that you've done that you feel like, man, I did all that work and then nothing. But we got the sign, right?
I know.
So
I
that's a
didn't.
plus. Okay, so at this point, we will go to public comments. Do we have any public comments in-house or online?
Oh, I was gonna say, we do have one from Stephanie Casey online.
Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
Hey, everybody, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just have a couple of thoughts, and you guys brought the benches back up, which I think is a great discussion. The cement ones, one of the problems I see with them is they're not terribly user-friendly. If sprinklers hit them or it rains, they hold water in puddles. And, any kind of a drainage system would certainly make them a little bit more user-friendly on a regular basis. Even if you decided to keep the cement, something to look at. My other thought was the signs, the Spend It in North Ogden. I had to reference back to my notes because I heard that something about buying 10, but I believe they were purchased in March, and in my notes, I didn't write the exact amount down, but we bought, I know they were $168 each, and I remember 20 being bought. And my note says spent nearly 4,000, which that kind of adds up. So I don't know, I would just make sure on that because that's only 5 months use for that investment. I know that we could do better with the next round, but I wouldn't get rid of those so quick. Try to use those a little bit longer. And then my last thought is a discussion I think would be great to have is I would love to see a list of all the businesses in North Ogden put to like services, restaurants, retail. I think being able to look at what businesses are currently in, how many are a service-based business, how many is a retail, how many is food service, and being able to look at that because each of those are going to probably have some sort of different promotional, way to promote them. It's going to be a little bit different. That's going to work for each kind. And I think it will help to understand which businesses really thrive in the city and are coming versus what, maybe we could work on getting more of. Anyway, those are my thoughts. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Steph.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dad.
Perfect. Any other public comments online or in person?
Do I need to stand up?
If you could state your name and that you're a North Ogden resident, that'd be helpful.
Merrill Sunderland, North Ogden resident. I have a few comments, but I think they could be better served by after the meeting. They're just things to help with the intent of what you've been doing. But keep up the good work. I really want to see a serious development committee. moving North Ogden ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Anything else online, John?
Nope.
Okay, great. Then we will move to committee and staff comments. Is there anything that needs to be said by either staff or those that are of the committee?
I think the city should do a water bottling company with stump water. We could probably make a killing off of that.
Well, and, oh, go ahead.
Yes.
So, and if you do, and this will be helpful to get the word out, if you do get questions about why it runs, if we turn it off and with a tap, it has to run for almost 20 minutes before it's viable drinking water again.
Clears it out.
And so it's been turned down to about 25% of what it normally does, but that's about the lowest the state will let us do and still use it. And the runoff goes into the canal and is used as irrigation water downstream. So it's not just going into the storm system, it's actually getting repurposed.
Perfect.
Because we have had that question come up a little bit.
We have turned it down too.
Yeah,
But mine's, let's do a North Ogden bottling company and, buy your plastic bottle of water from the stump.
I would buy. I love that water.
There's a lot of people who travel there to get that water.
there's a individual who lives in South Weaver County who comes here because their cat likes to drink this water. So,
In fact, won't drink any other water.
yeah, well, any other water, so.
It's because he thinks it's perfect.
Dad joke.
Terrible.
That was 100% that.
Sunk your claws into that.
Where's he at?
Well, yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so anything else?
Do we have somebody on the committee that was working with Lynn about?
Let me
doing
follow
that?
that.
Website stuff.
Okay,
I'll
because I
take-
know someone was assigned.
I'll take it, I'll make sure we get a Facebook page and then I'll work on videos. And then, John, who's now doing the website?
So Katie does most of it.
Okay.
As far as assembling the list, I think we'll have Bryce and Colleen.
Okay.
But I'll let Bryce know tomorrow in our staff meeting that, that's one of the things to work on, and then we can figure out the best way to format it with Katie's help. She's very graphically oriented.
And then
Do you
those
want
other ideas, those are a good idea to break it down as to whether it's service, restaurant or retail.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did like
That's a very
Steph's
good
idea
idea.
on that. Yeah, for sure.
JD, did you get the list of those who got the CARES money?
Oh, yeah. So I received the list from Mayor and John on all the company or all of the restaurants and businesses in North Ogden that received CARES Act money. And I don't know what everyone feels about that at this point, because unless we have a major turn for the worst in COVID, I think that we're fine. But the thought was several months ago when things were a little bit worse, that we were going to proactively try to work with those businesses that received CARES Act funding and see if there's any way that we could continue to help them with their business. I am under the impression that just things have generally turned around, and I don't believe that there are any businesses currently within North Ogden City that are majorly struggling. They may have in the past, but I think we've turned a corner. So do we want to take any further action on that? I mean, we have it in our back pocket in case things, heaven forbid, turn for the worst with COVID, and we could try to reach out to those businesses, but any thoughts?
I'd say put it on hold until something else happens.
Yeah, yep. Mayor, would you like to talk about our new committee member, or should we just wait until next time?
I'd be happy to. We've invited Brian Crowell to serve on the Economic Development Committee. Brian lives up on my Lake. And he's the chief operating officer out of Peterson,
Oh, wow.
but really is kind of a go-getter in marketing and development, things of that nature. He's in Africa right now on a humanitarian trip with Peterson's right now, but he'll be joining us pretty soon, and so we're looking forward to it.
I'm really excited to have his expertise. I mean,
You used to work with him, didn't you?
yeah, I used to work with him at JD Machine for a while back in the day. Great guy. So
question on the sidewalk sales taste in North Ogden. We put on that hold for next year, early winter, start talking.
This,
What about
I-
the Chocolate Festival?
Um,
Could we incorporate with that?
that's coming fast, and I know the
Yeah, it's the
committee's
end of
already
August.
got the food trucks and things lined up for that.
I know my opinion. My opinion is we're just trying to get back to a good place with swimming in information from the last few meetings, and I think we've made some definite progress this time.
Mhm.
But I would almost suggest that anything officially as far as a spend it in North Ogden Day, let's look towards 2022. We can talk about calendaring them out. We can talk about once the Facebook page for Spend It in North Ogden is created, we have a few more things in place where we can really promote it well and make sure that it's out there. That would be my opinion. And the other part is just generally, we observe that the businesses in North Ogden are doing pretty well right now. So it's not that the businesses don't need more help, as that the help would always be helpful, but I just think we're at a point where we should probably just wait until 2022, but let's start calendaring it out.
And that was what I was suggesting, is we don't worry about, I'm not gonna do any more effort on that. We can talk about it, say, next January.
Yeah, I think December, January, somewhere in that range, we start really picking up on that again. And I'm trying to, we don't want to forget. So let's, everyone, don't forget, next January, we're putting it on the calendar. And we're going to make sure that that goes forward, because that would be awesome. That'd be really cool to make it a focus.
But yeah, you end the summer with the chalk. You started with some of these other types of things.
Yep. And maybe to Steph's point on the designation of retail, restaurant, what was the other one? Services. You know, maybe we have one that is a restaurant focus, dine in North Ogden on this day. And they even have additional employees there because they know that North Ogden's gonna come in force to their business to eat. And then services and retail are specific days as well. That's an idea too. So that'd be something to kind of chew on.
Hey, JD, I was just wondering if you know where they're gonna find employees these days.
Hey, that's not, yeah, luckily it's not my problem, but it's a hard problem.
Well, it's a problem because it's gonna have an economic effect.
Yeah.
People can't,
Yeah,
they have to close at 5 because they can't.
yep.
Yeah.
I also theorize that this child tax credit right now is going to further stimulate our North Ogden economy. We know we have a lot of families in North Ogden that are gonna be receiving that. I hope a good little chunk goes to our businesses right here. So, any other staff or committee comments?
Just
John?
one thing about this sign. So because the council's approving the budget, they will also be approving the design. You do have 2 council members on this committee. So don't hesitate to lean on them and say, hey, you support it. I'm teasing. Because they all can be independent, but just understand that, you know, this is a recommending body since the council technically approves the budget. So.
No pressure, Blake, because let's just do it.
We're
Because
all behind this.
if it gets shut down, then we're back to the drawing board and we're gonna take that many more months to figure it out.
I'm with you guys. I think we took too long to try and make a decision about it in the first place.
Do we need
Cool.
somebody to say how many signs we need, or did we decide that we're probably okay with just
Start
the
with 2.
Find the cost and then we can go from there.
And then, yes.
And are we in agreement that, so Cooperstown is kicking in 2,500, but we estimate, we don't have the RFP in yet, but we estimate maybe we're gonna need $2,500 to $5,000 from the RDA fund to go towards that site, right? So we'll see what it comes out as, but that's just kind of a guess at this point. Okay,
I think that's great.
okay. Any other comments?
I propose that we end the meeting.
I'll second it.
We should call Charles Stoker.
And I agree. Let's end the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes, good job.
Thanks, everyone.
Um,